Welcome to Ancient Astrology with Sam and Verity.
I'm Sam Bakewell.
And I'm Verity Hibbs. And today for episode 19, we'll be looking at stelliums.
Yeah, so stellium is a group of planets in the same sign. Often it's 3 or more in the same sign. And I'm just going to reinforce the same sign. So, we're looking at whole sign house system here. And some astrologers will say you need 4 planets in the same
Yeah,
sign.
I've heard that. Yeah, it's a little bit ambiguous, the stellium.
Yes.
Sometimes there's a lot of different sort of interpretations or advice.
And some will even say that you need them to aspect each other, like by conjunction.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, but I don't actually use that. I'm just saying that I find that I define a stellium as just planets in the same sign. So here we have, all these planets, 1, 2, 3, 4 planets in the sign of Cancer.
Yeah.
So, and these are, we haven't looked at outer planets here, but just as you were saying, the 4 personal planets, personal planets are all in the same sign. They actually, most of them do aspect each other.
Yeah,
but
they're
Mercury,
quite close, aren't they?
Yeah, Mercury doesn't aspect by degree Mars, but they're still, I would still call this a stellium. So a stellium can be an intense lot of energy.
Yeah, it's quite loaded, isn't it? It's a lot going on in the one house and the one sign.
Exactly. So the native is a Taurus rising. So Venus and the moon is who she is and how she operates this Taurus rising. And so she has the Venus in Leo qualities and she has the moon in Cancer qualities also. So it's a big deal, these planets in Cancer. And I explained it to her. She's been a student of mine for many years and a client of mine for many years. And so, we're kind of always continuing talking about astrology, and I'm always teaching her astrology. So I liken these planets to any planets with a stellium and that are in a water sign, apart from Scorpio. Scorpio is going to react differently as a water sign. They can hold things in. And notice how the moon is a dispositor of all these planets sign, right? Because of the stellium. So it can see, all these planets can see the dispositor.
Yeah.
Right. So if it was in Leo, the moon was in Leo and we had the 3 planets in Cancer, well, then the moon can't see its sign in Cancer and all those planets can't see, because it's an inversion. So that makes it a very different type of a stellium, how that stellium behaves.
Rulership there.
Yeah. So I explained this to her just as a joke, as we were mucking around, and I said to her, have you ever seen that movie Bedazzled? And with Liz Hurley in it. And one of the characters is the emotional guy who sits on the beach, and says, the dolphins save tuna and what have you, and then he looks at the sunrise and he goes, and he starts crying, and then he's, everything's so emotional because, he's taking, that to me is what this energy would be like, so it's a very emotional energy. It's, it's really feeling what everyone else is feeling, and it just can't help but cry, and show its emotions.
Yeah, well, definitely with that, with the sun, moon, Mars, and Mercury, they're very personal planets, aren't they? They can be.
So people have said to me, because I've been teaching for quite a lot of years, so I've been asked, well, how do you read a stellium? So you read a stellium like you would read any other energy, planetary energy, through degree-based aspects, right? And alone. Each planet alone, and also all these aspects to each other.
So that's the thing, isn't it? Like, if you had just Mercury in Cancer, that would say one thing about you. But if you have a Mercury in Cancer and a Sun in Cancer, how does that alter
Well,
that.
because they are degree based and there is a conjunction there. So then I would explain that as a father who has good communication skills, wants to talk things through, sort of, because we have the sun in aversion to the fourth house, right?
Yes,
that is
which
the
is the house of
father.
father.
It's actually Leo
Leo,
also, 12 signs behind. So
Yes,
there is that communication with the father, but there's some issues. So maybe he just didn't have time to talk, or he was more quiet about it, or when he went to have a conversation with you, he would just talk really quickly, blah, 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 and that's it. So it's not an easy flow of the energy. And plus there's no dignity with Mercury. So we're assessing a lot of other things. It's the stellium. So what we're introducing you to is the stellium, but it's also to read it, you still are looking at, just look at 2 planets and then you can incorporate the third if you like.
And this is an interesting example as well, because you've got the moon in rulership, which is great in Cancer, but then Mars is in fall and it's right next to it. So that adds another sort of layer, doesn't
it? So that moon in fall is going to cause some trouble.
Or the Mars in fall.
Sorry, the Mars in fall. Sorry, yes, Mars in fall conjunct the moon.
The moon.
It's going to cause some problems with the mother. For her, with some conflict, some incidents, accidents, and things like that. And also it's going to be protective. This is Mars with the moon is a protective person, a protective mother. And sometimes, people don't react like they want to, they might, I think they're being very patient about something, but then they can be demanding or reactive instead of sitting and processing the information. So this can be a very quick, emotional kind of Mars. So that's one lot of stellium. And now let's have a look at, okay, let's have a look at mine. I've got a stellium in Virgo. So I am ruled by Jupiter and Venus because my ascendant is Pisces. So there's a big lot of my personality is that way inclined. But I also have a sextile to the sun and to Mercury, so I do pick up those energies, and plus I have a stellium. So regardless of whether it's my ascendant or not, these are my planets in my chart, right? So I will take on these energies, and so it's Virgo, so not like the Cancerian, like I have got that Cancer, the crybaby stuff, or get emotional. But I also have this practical side, neat, tidy. And as you can see, I've got these outer planets here.
I was going to ask about outer planets. So would that mean that you then have a 5-planet stellium? Like, do the outer planets, let's say you only had Mercury and Venus in Virgo. You didn't have the sun. So you've got 2 personal planets, and then you also had Uranus and Pluto. Would that then make that a stellium because you'd have 4, but 2 would be outer?
I think we can't avoid the fact that they are planets. So we can use them. They are angular as well, but traditional astrologers and Hellenistic astrologers, we generally will use angular outer planets. And so these are angular, but they are still generational, so I would still look at this as a stellium, and I would still consider it even if as you were saying, we didn't have the sun there. And let's say the sun was in Libra. And we had two of the personal planets or the inner planets and 2 outer planets. So that's still a stellium.
Okay. As you've got in your first house, actually, you've got Saturn, which is a personal planet. It's quite a crowded house as well because you've got your ascendant, your Chiron, and your part of fortune. So would that also be a stellium or no? Because it's only 1 planet.
No, I wouldn't use points, and like, let's say even the North Node was there, I wouldn't use the North Node because the ecliptic and the moon's path. So I don't think I'd use the North Node. I would be more interested in planets and the outer planets, by so long the outer planets were angular. But even so, even if they were cadent and there was more than 3, and we had the outer planet, we had Uranus or Pluto, I would still consider that as a stellium.
Yeah. Okay, that's good to see. Yeah, that was a good example for that.
Okay, so let's have a look at Angelina Jolie's chart.
Yes.
Okay, so here I have, she has a stellium, and these are all, the inner planets, and well, she has Mars, the Moon, and Jupiter, and so they are all by degree-based, they all make aspects. So this fire, it's very different, than our water stellium and my Virgo stellium. So this is fire, so this is more action-packed, and it's much quicker. And we have Mars, the dispositor, in good shape as well, but it is her malefic of sex, so it does cause her some problems. And if while we're here, I suppose we can look at besiegement as well. So a besieged planet is termed besieged simply when any planet in the same sign or in any aspect, and one is in the middle, right? And so the middle planet or planets are besieged. Sometimes you have 2, like the one that we looked at with the Cancer. She has 2 sort of in the middle. So there are a lot of astrologers that say different things, and some will say that a besieged planet is a planet separating from one malefic, and then right after that applies to another malefic. So I don't really look at it like that. Definitely a malefic besiegement is hardcore, right?
Yes, because I have heard of those. So that's what I thought besiegement was.
No,
so
I just use besiege. Like if I was to explain besiege, or in my mind, when I'm assessing a chart and I see like our Cancer stellium, and I see the 2 planets there, I'm looking at, let's get back to that one.
Yeah, because I know I think it was Mercury, Sun, Moon, Mars for that
back
one.
to our Cancer.
Yeah.
So to me, the Moon is besieged by the Sun and by Mars.
Right. Okay.
And the Sun is besieged by Mercury and the Moon. But both of them are besieged by Mercury and Mars, and the other one with Mars. So, either way, those 2 planets are besieged.
And so it's besiegement only in a house, or could you do like Mercury is besieged by Saturn and Mars?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
So I will show you that. That gets a little bit more complicated. We'll go back to Angelina. And I did have one more chart I wanted to show with besiege, but anyway, let's have a look at this one. So you have 17 degrees here. So even by aspect, you can have a besiegement. So you see Mars is on one side, right? And the Moon's besieged by Jupiter and Mars. So this is telling a set of stories, right? But then you have Saturn, that is 17 degrees and 23 minutes. So that would be here. So she's actually got a besiegement between Saturn and Mars, right, by aspect.
Yes.
So this is pretty tough for people. They have tough experiences. And the Moon is her. So, yes, she has all these wonderful career things going on, but she also has other issues that are probably affecting her body, because the Moon represents the body, but it is also her ascendant, her rising planet, as Jupiter is also. So, Jupiter's in triplicity, the Moon hasn't got any dignity, but they all have a little bit of dignity because they can see Mars, and they the dispositor of the Moon, and Jupiter is in rulership up there. But that's a very strong Mars. It's a malefic of sex, so it's going to cause some different things to her body, to her stomach, to her breast.
Yes, true, which she did have.
Yeah, did she?
Yeah, I think she had her breast removed or something because of I think it was something like her cancer was in her genetics, like it was likely that she would get it. So which is that,
Yeah, so we won't go on because I don't want to frighten everybody, but that is one representation of a besieged. Just I wanted to show you another besieged chart. So here we have, I mean, I have the personal planets here. So we have, to me, Venus would be besieged between Saturn and Neptune. But we also have this planet here, Mars, which is her malefic of sect, that is on the other side, that makes an aspect right here to Saturn. And so she has Saturn, Mars making an aspect to Saturn, and then she has Venus on the other side. So Saturn is actually besieged as well. And so we can carry that on even to here, because we would have Mercury a trine, her Jupiter on one side, and we have the sun on the other side making an aspect. So if you wanted to get very technical about it, that would be how we would look at it. But really, we are looking at besiegement with the malefic planets. That's what we're interested in.
What does it kind of tell us if planets are besieged between the malefic planets?
Well, it's a conjunction, like when it's a conjunction and you've got a besiegement, like with our Cancer, that just tells me that that native with the moon, there's always somebody with them, because that's like us two sitting next to each other. This is a conjunction. Like we're right here, we can see each other. So that would be the person would be whoever Mars is in that Cancer chart, and then also we would be looking at the sun on the other side. So
would that sort of mean the mum and dad, for example, are always together?
Yes, and they were very connected until he passed away. I think I lost that one. No, there it is. Okay, so for this native, so the moon is her, and so the sun is conjunct, and so somebody very close. So there's a besiegement. But so she doesn't get a lot of time on her own. And when she is on her own, she probably doesn't really like it because, apart from the Venus side where she's getting appointments for her hair or her nails or, going shopping to buy beautiful little outfits or whatever, even though there's a square to Saturn, that's something that she probably can do on her own and be at home. But there is another part of her personality who likes to have these people with her. Even though, these Mars people will cause some conflict with her and some problems from time to time, it's still,
interesting.
So
I kind of think of a besiegement sort of like a lasso in a way, like a little rope, and it's tying. It's like a connection. It's kind of like a binding.
Well, all aspects are a connection.
Yeah, but this is kind of like a loop.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of loops it in this little
loop. And if it's not if it's a malefic that's doing the loop or making the aspect,
Saturn, then it's very binding, isn't it?
Well, then Saturn, depending on whether it's a square or what aspect it makes and whether it's your malefic of sect, because this lady does have Saturn here that makes an aspect from right to here to 19 degrees by sextile, and on that side to the moon. So then there's another kind of connection there and another type of besiegement, even with Saturn,
and Saturn, so Venus also is 19 degrees.
It is complicated how you would read all this because you need to sit quietly and assess, first of all, let's say I was writing a report here about these situations, right? And so let's say she happens to be in a 10th house month or 10th house year, and she wants to know what's going on with her life, So I'll be talking to her. I will be, first of all, Mars, moon. So I'll be typing up all this Mars, moon. Then I would type up moon, Mars, type that up, all those predictions. Moon, Jupiter, all that, Jupiter, moon, especially a 10th house. So it'd be pretty full on. And then I would also incorporate the sun, because the sun is one of the lords up there that rule by exaltation, the 10th house. And then I would have to incorporate these aspects as well. So then I will be just looking at Mars, Saturn, and then I would be considering this besiegement here between Saturn and Mars, and this is a complication. Not only is it a square, it's a complicated event. So I would be giving her all the possibilities of what could happen, and being angular planets, you would definitely be going to town on it. And then I would be explaining just Jupiter and Saturn, because I'm looking at these planets, right? So this doesn't happen to her all the time. Things happen to her during certain years, and when you're in your malefic of sect year, it's going to be a little bit tougher. All right, so that gets a little bit complicated for our viewers, I guess, really, doesn't it?
Probably, yeah, depends. But I think it's good to know about, because it's an interesting, like, especially if people find that in their charts, that's something that could add another sort of reveal something.
It does. It adds another layer.
Yeah, it can help make sense to things.
Exactly. And you think, oh, well, that lady with all the moon in Cancer things going on, that's going to be great. How lovely. She's got the moon in Cancer. But then when you look a little bit deeper, you can see that there is some restriction by being sort of like between people. So how much choice do you have, in your decisions that you make during that time frame when you're in that Cancer month, or when she's in a moon month, or the Mars month, or the Sun month,
yeah, and that's it with stelliums as well, isn't it? It would really so for example, if you come into a Mars month but you've got a stellium where your Mars is located, that means that when you hit that, let's say you hit Aries, but your Mars is in Cancer, that means, it's going to tell a story about all those other planets as well. Yeah, and how, they could be
by
people,
transit? Is that what you're mentioning?
or just if you go into your like perfection.
Yeah. Okay.
So
yes.
then, it would be like, okay, it's not, then you would look at where the Mars is. Oh, it's in Cancer, but there's also Mercury, the Sun and Moon there. So it's going to tell a story about a lot of different people or things that could happen to them.
That's right. So then that that's going to be a pretty complicated time frame, but there'd be lots of months and years
then it would
where
be,
it is. Yes, exactly.
Every Mercury month, it's going to be like if it goes to Gemini or Virgo month, because Mercury's with those planets.
That's right.
Yeah,
exactly. So then that takes on the energy. You also have to be, you have to assess what Mercury is going to do to the Sun, what Mercury is doing to the Moon, what Mercury is doing to Saturn, because there's sextile there to Saturn. So.
And do you find that people that have stelliums, even if it's not directly connected to their rising or their rising sign or their sun sign, do you find that they will represent more in that way? Like they have, because there's so much energy of that sign loaded into their chart. Do you find that they give off like an essence of, for example, if they have a Scorpio stellium, but then their sun is in Gemini and their rising is Virgo, but do you find that they have like a strong Scorpio sort of thing to them, even though
they wouldn't think they'd have to they'd have to, because they've got quite a few planets in that in a stellium, and that energy is, a stellium is pretty full on. It's intense, because you're taking on so many of those planets are taking on that sign and that element, you know.
So it could be the way they think or the way they speak, plus the way they dress, plus the way they, they look, or
we definitely do take on those energies. So it's there's so much on the ascendant and the lords of the ascendant. However, these planets in a stellium are definitely something.
Because even when it was in the cadent house of the other chart you showed, and even though there was that moon connection, because Taurus is exalted with the moon, but Venus is then in a different sign. But I mean, it's her sun sign as well. But you can really see the Cancer energy.
Yeah.
Even though it's in the 3rd house, not an angular house.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
there is a fight for her to be that Cancerian person,
yes.
but because we both know this person very well.
Yes.
So it's very there is that fight, you know, and you hear her saying, you know, I am a Cancerian person, but you see a lot of that Venus in Leo type of personality. I hope you enjoyed that. Hope you understood that. I'm not completely well, so
you did really well.
Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
If you have any questions, please feel free to ask as well. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye for now.